Hi everyone. So this is your debrief for the week of January 17th to 18th. Now, if you remember correctly, you had three cards that were loss or liberation, grace, and childhood prayers. So I'm going to read them for you. Loss or liberation. Every time we lose something or someone, there's also liberation from something. Time constraints, emotional or financial investments, obligation, responsibility, a role we've taken on. We choose at any given moment to focus on whether or not we perceive the loss or the liberation. One is heavy, one is light. Sometimes we're so used to the weight of loss that initially the loss creates fear instead of potential relief and liberation. Sometimes we have to look at the judgments and the emotions the loss brings up before we can appreciate the liberation. So you are being asked to look at how that showed up in your life, how the idea of loss and liberation showed up in your life in the week, and whether or not it showed up in actual fact or whether or not it was just memories that came up for you. Did you find yourself reflecting on times when you had lost relationships or jobs or things that were important to you? And notice where it had sometimes both feelings at the same time, the loss and the liberation? Or how did it switch back and forth for you? And maybe it showed up for you in terms of being with people around you who had lost things or people recently, and it gave you a chance to reflect on it from the outside. So the energy you were being asked to embrace was grace. Grace has it's not sudden. It has a smooth, easy, peaceful, and supportive quality. It flows naturally into us and through us. It's an experience of letting the benevolent universe take us through our movements and guide us with a loving hand. Notice the feeling quality of this description and return to it today every time you're about to do or think about anything, or at any point in the day when you find yourself feeling stressed and thinking too much. So you're being asked really in that case to really lean into that sense of a benevolent universe. And did that energy allow you to sometimes then move from the idea of loss into the feeling of liberation? Because some of us have a sense of loss around even our first love. Even though it's over, we've moved on, we've loved again, that initial impact can still stay with us as a loss. Have you been able, by leaning into grace, to be able to reflect back on past losses and turn what might have been the heaviness of loss into a liberation? And likewise, you're being asked to resurrect your childhood prayers and say them in the feminine gender. So, Our Mother who art in heaven, for example, if you were saying the Lord's Prayer. But anything that is a prayer for you that had a connotation of a male aspect to it, that would be something that you would have redone with a feminine pronoun. And just even if it's not a prayer, if it's not a specific prayer that you did, if you were going to be redefining Lord as a female, or if you were going to be just allowing yourself to imagine that the divine benevolent force that guides us all has strongly feminine genders rather than feminine qualities rather than masculine qualities, how does that cause you to feel? It can bring up a lot of interesting things for you when you start doing that, and really specifically often around the idea of what happens at a deep subconscious level to you if you start saying God is a woman. If you start identifying God as a woman and you start speaking to God as a woman, some very interesting things can happen. And if this were a live situation, I would discuss some of the experiences I've had doing that one, but I don't want to make this too long. So that is the thing. You had all of those things to do. Did you find it easy, number one, to do the exercise? And how often did you do it? Was it something that was just kind of floating throughout your week? And where did you find yourself having difficulty? Did you get caught in the loss? Did you easily move into the feeling of grace and trusting in a benevolent universe? That was female, because you put those two together, that's exactly what that's about. Did you have difficulty envisioning that? Did you have nightmares or impressions or a feeling that you were doing something wrong? Or did it open it up for you in a beautiful way? How did it affect you to start perceiving the divine and this benevolent loving force as a female force for you? Did it make it easier? Did it make it harder? Did you notice yourself perceiving things differently? So that's pretty much the debrief for the week. Really just look at what you were able to do and why, what memories it took you to, and check in with how this opened up your consciousness and brought you potentially up against some walls in your perceptions or your belief systems that existed at an unconscious level that you weren't aware of. Okay? So that is it for the debrief. I hope this is interesting for you. And yeah, I look forward to offering you the next one very shortly. Take care. Have a great week.